Hello, and today I'm going to show you how to add dimensions to the intermediate 2D Minecraft game. So, to start off, we're going to have to completely rethink how the generation system in this game works. So, I'm going to now explain to you how we're going to do this. What we're going to be doing is creating a list-based Minecraft kind of save system, and that will allow us to create multiple lists for each dimension, and I'll now explain it in more detail. So, the way we're going to do this is have a list which goes, in this case, is going to go all the way up to 16. But we need to make sure we can make it so that the list will appear on the screen to be a grid. So to do this, we're going to convert the list every time it goes up by a certain amount, in this case 4, the next one is going to be at the bottom again, and then it's going to go back up again, and it will, in general, move to the right. So, that is, and we'll be able to assign a particular value to this block, and this is going to be the item number of a specific item in the list. This is the same way the inventory system works in the game, so you hopefully should be relatively familiar with it. So, with that done, back to the video. Okay, so now we're going to have to pretty much ditch everything we did in episode 1 of the easy tutorial. This is because, well, all of this is using a system that really is not compatible with what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to have a quick look at the generation system in this game, and we're going to try to replicate it by having 2 different generation scripts. One to simply generate the viewer of the blocks. We're going to use the same positions to start, and we're going to move by the same amount here. So we're going to change x by 24, and we're going to repeat 20 times. And now the world is empty. So now we're then going to have to add another repeat block, and then a change y by 24. Let's just make sure it is a square. Yep, it is. And now we're going to set y to -168 there. Then we're going to create a clone of myself here, and now we should see that it begins to generate again. We're going to set the costume to 2, just for demonstration purposes, and we're going to duplicate this tile here, and we're going to create a new tile which is going to be the air block. This will automatically hide. So we need to probably have a few more of these tiles here. I'd say 15 would do. We don't need it to be absolutely perfect. That might result in issues. But I think we're pretty much spot on there anyway. Okay, so now we're going to rename this from initiate world to initiate camera. and we're going to create a new custom block called, well, you can actually do it this way around. It's called this initiate camera, and that will remain initiate world. Doesn't matter. Initiate camera will come after initiate world. And now we're going to program the world generator script. So we're going to create a list called overworld. We're going to delete everything in this list when the world is began. And now we're going to repeat 20 times. And we're going to take all these smooth random scripts over from layer to layer. And we're going to set smooth random to 8 as was before. Now we're going to repeat until a new variable called, actually no, let's just repeat smooth random times -3. We're going to add item, well, no, we're going to add item 4, which is stone, as you can see here, to world. This costume number represents what item in the world is going to display. And now we're going to have to get rid of a whole lot of the scripts that were originally in, well, when we start this clone sprite. When we start this clone. And we're also going to create a new variable called counter. This will be for list by only. We'll set this to 0 here. And we'll change it by 1 every time we add something to the world. Let's put a few zeros there so we can create a saving system later. So now we're going to repeat until counter is equal to 15, as that is the height of our world. We're going to add 1, which is air, as you can see here, to world until counter is equal to 15. Air is 1, as you can see. Now we're going to make it so we're going to program the clone to display the type of block that we want it to. So we're going to create a new variable and we're going to call it clone ID. We're going to set it to 0 here. We're going to change it by 1 every time, well, before a clone is created. And now we're going to switch costume to item clone ID of overworld. Let's make everything run without screen refresh. Yep, that's done. This isn't broadcasting that. I think that's because we're not setting Biome anymore. Let's set Biome to 1 for now. In the generate script. Okay. Let's make sure it shows when the world is generated. Then it will hide. As you can see, we can now see that a world is being generated. And we can now repeat 3 times here and add 3 to world. And that will bring back the stone. And then we can just add grass, which is 2, and as you can see, we've now got a world generating again. As you can see, we've severely messed up the player system in the process. So we're now going to put a forever block here, and if item clone ID of world is equal to 1, is going to hide. This will prevent the collisions from breaking as they were before. Let's just make sure all the collisions are properly being detected, which they aren't. Let's also make sure that we set graphics effects to 0. Yeah, that's done. Not sure why we had to do that. It was working before, but let's just make sure we've updated all these just in case there's something we changed. Now you should see that placing blocks does, well, nothing, and we're going to have to significantly change all of those systems as well. But first, let's implement. So let's do that. We'll get rid of the old scripts. We'll take this and get rid of all that. We're now going to drag that over, and we'll implement the placing and breaking scripts over here. If F is pressed, it's going to replace item. It's going to replace item clone ID of weld with 1. Let's make sure it's touching sprite 2. As you can see, that's now working. We changed that color when we were somehow here. That is very strange. Let's compensate for that and put that here for now. This might cause issues with the entities. No clue why they're different colours though. They really shouldn't be. I think Scratch might be messing around with colours slightly when detecting things. No clue why. But when he switched costumes or something weird. But the reason why we implemented Sprite 2 was because we couldn't detect where the mouse was without a lot of, well, difficulty. Now we can add a new variable called and we'll change this to mouse pointer. As you can see, now we can do that. but we'll also still rely on sprite 2 to check whether things are pressed properly, and we'll set pointer x and pointer y to x position and y position. Now we'll change all these scripts to instead go to pointer x and pointer y. As you can see, it's now going to the pointer, but if we go here, it's moving, but it's kind of going a bit weird when we move out. We're going to, instead of these scripts, we're going to change, we're going to add a new, add a new custom block called, no, we're just going to change the costume of the pointer to this new red costume. And we'll switch to normal one when we're in the correct position. Actually, we could make it hide. That will prevent it from being detecting, well, the blocks from detecting it, and otherwise we'll just show. As you can see, now we can control the player with the mouse pointer. Well, we can control the this pointer with the mouse pointer, and that is quite an improvement over what we were using before. So now we're going to add to it. Make sure we add to inventory costume item clone ID of world, amount 1. And we'll also make sure if V is pressed, we'll use up the block that is currently being selected. So it's this one. And we'll replace it with item help counting, item current inventory item of inventory. And we'll also make sure that it's more than, no, I think we don't actually need to do that. Yeah, let's just check that that's working, which it isn't. Actually, it isn't. Wait. Yes. Okay, let's make sure we show before that, so now it hopefully will work. And no, it isn't. Okay, oh, okay, let's put all of these in between there and there. And now we can place blocks, but we need to make sure that it doesn't do it. It waits until V is not pressed. This will stop it from placing too many blocks, and we'll separate some of these scripts out. Make sure that it always switches to that, no matter whether any of this is done. Now I think what's gone wrong here is that we need to make sure that because there's so many more inventory items than before, we need to make sure that they appear properly. Okay, so now we're going to make sure it goes to front here, and hopefully that will work, of which it did not. Well, let's make sure that all of these are always going to the back. Okay, let's make sure that we haven't gone above the clone limit, which I think is around 300. Just placing there, so probably, well, that's like 250, isn't it? Which, well, in theory it should be okay, but what is the maximum clone ID? 300. Okay, that means I think what's gone wrong here is that there are too many clones. We're going to have to reduce down how far these go up to make space. Now, what you see here is because we just reduced it, which means we need to make sure the world is a bit smaller to make up for it, as that now needs to be 14. And now you can see that that's going eventually to work. We've made up of probably more than 9. I think we've got 10 less than before. Actually, no, 20. Yeah, it would be 20. Yeah, okay. That will have to do then for that. That means basically we're not going to have quite as high of a range at the top of the world. That'll be the maximum height limit around there instead, which is fine. As you can see, all the collisions have been messed up for some reason. So what we're going to do is detect whether it's touching that and also the one underneath, the dirt block. Not sure why this has to be done, but it does for some reason. Drag that over to the green sprite, and now just cut that bit out and put it there, and hopefully it's gonna work. At least to a degree. Now we're going to add flowers and other decorations to this game. To do this, we'll take this here and we'll take the counter variable, set it to 0 and repeat the length of the world, which is 280. We'll change counter by 1 every single time, and we'll check whether we're above a grass block. So check whether the block below is a grass block. To do this, we'll a glass block is, and it is block 2. So we'll change counter by 1 there, and if that's the case, we're going to add a new pick random variable. Well, not variable, sorry, I meant just pick random block from, let's say, 5 to 10, and if it's 5, if it is 5, we're going to replace item counter of overworld with pick random 5 to 9. As you can see, flowers are generating again, but I want them to be a bit more common, so I'll just make it 5 to 7 instead. Now we're going to add trees. This, as was in the previous tutorial, well, easy one is also, well, harder than before, but is less likely to cause disastrous problems if you get it wrong. So now we're going to change this to 5 to 8, let's say 9, and if that's the case, we're going to replace item counter of overworld with 11. Then we'll want to do the block above, which means we have to add 1 to counter. And then we'll want to do the block above that, which means it will be, we're going to duplicate, we're going to create a new block at the end, and it will be this block here, which is a mixture of leaves and oak. Before we could just do it make it so they're both go on top of each other, but now that is quite unreasonable, so we'll just get the oak, then the leaves, and we'll have both of them mixed together. So we'll replace the one above that with 17. Let's make it so that maximum and minimum are a bit lower. We're going to go overboard here. So we're going to add 2, then 3. Let's add that and not that. And we could have trees like that, I suppose. Then we'll add a 4th, which will be 10. We're also going to check whether there's a tree next to it or not. If that's the case, we're going to, well, to do this, we're going to check whether clone ID minus the length of the world, which is, height, 14. That means we've gone to the left, and then it should detect whether it's 1, and if we subtract minus 14, it will detect whether we've gone to whether there's air to the right of the block. We'll use the same thing here, so we'll do plus 18 with 10, and then plus minus 10. And we'll also do minus 14. We'll do minus 11 actually -9 maybe. Let's just make sure we haven't done something wrong here. Yeah, it needs to be -11. Then -12. And also we'll do 28, which is 2 places. There, and we'll go up by 2, which is 6 -26, and then we'll go to -25, and that is the first half of the tree done. Now we're going to add 14 rather, and then we're going to go up by 2, which is 18, which we already have done apparently. Let's do 17 instead. And then 16. Then we're going to do 28, and then we're going to go up by 2, which means 30. Then we'll do 31. And now we've got trees generating, which will now look a bit fancier than they were in the last game. So now we're going to add the biomes back again. And so we're now going to check whether the biome is 1, and if that's the case, we'll add 2 to world. If that's not the case, we'll add a different block to the world. So if biome is equal to 1, it's going to add 2 to world, and if its biome is 2, it's going to add block. Let's check what the biomes were. Desert is next, which means we'll add 12 to world. Set biome to 2 there. We're going to add that pick random slider here. And we're also going to add that part to 1, and we'll add a different version with the sand instead here. And I think if we'll also add a if else here. So if biome is equal to 2, it's going to, instead of doing that, it's going to add block 13. And as you can see, deserts are now generating again. Let's allow them to go a bit lower. Whoops. Yep, you want that bit there. That's a good desert. Now we're going to make it so cactuses generate again, which is a bit like adding trees, but a lot less complicated. We're going to duplicate the tree script, and we're going to get rid of all of that. Yeah, I'd probably put that one in front. That's a tree one. We'll check whether item is 12 instead of 2. And if we'll add 14 instead of all of these here. And we'll add a pick random 1 to 2 equals 1. And we'll make this more common by doing that. And cactuses are generating again. Let's make trees a bit more common. Let's just get that by there. I think that's good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add the spruce biome back in, duplicate the scripts for biome 1, and replace this bit here with 15. We'll check that the biome is equal to 3, just in case we want to add biomes in the future. And as you can see, now we've got that biome generating again, but we need to make sure that it's generating trees as it was before. Duplicate this script here, and now what we're going to do is generate spruce logs instead of oak, which is 11. So we'll replace every single instance of 11 with 16, and we'll replace 17 with 18. So now just put in 16 here. And 18 there. Then put that all the way back at the bottom here. And we will hopefully have a generation script once we check that it's equal to 15 and not that 2 there. Flowers did actually generate there as well. So we'll check whether we'll put an OR block, and then we'll put block 15 there. And now we've got the generation system working again, and this will allow us to add dimensions in the next video. So there haven't been many benefits yet, but this has been the longest video I've ever done. So, well, it's more of a video to prepare more than anything for for future videos, as this kind of system of saving games, the level, helps a lot with dimensions and save codes and things like that, which means in future this game will be a lot better. This game, I would say now, is only a bit easier than the tile-scrolling Minecraft series, at least the first few episodes of it. In future, that series is going to become much harder than this one is because of using list-based entities and players, etc. And it would now be, in theory, quite easy to convert this into a tile-scrolling game, but you would have to get rid of all the previous player systems and color sensing blocks. So, yeah, to fix this bug that we just created involving causing this to not properly generate let's make sure it hides after you do that if it's air. That fixed one of the bugs, but let's make sure that we're not going to place a block when item inventory is current clone ID of inventory is 1. What we're only going to do. We're only going to place blocks when that's the case. So now put a if else block in there, and we'll check if it's equal to 1. And now you should see that we can. What have we done? Oops, wrong. No, we didn't. Okay, put that outside of that. And wait, maybe if we just switch those around. Wait. Okay, now it's glitching significantly. Yeah, I'll just leave that out. Yeah, I think that's actually working now. Maybe. No, it isn't. Well, I don't think it is. What's the let's just make sure item amounts aren't going ridiculous. Okay, I think I know the problem here. Yeah, we're not going to do this when inventory is it's already equal to 1. So, yeah. Actually, I think it's both of them really that need this. Ooh, whoops, that's not what I really need to do. Let's, instead of doing that, how do we have this before? Yep, okay, so duplicate that. We'll, well, actually, we don't really want to duplicate any of that. We'll check whether item clone ID of overworld is equal to 1. And if that's the case, we're going to not equal to 1. We're going to break the block. And now that should finally work. It's not going to break, which causes item amounts to go insane. Okay, yeah, I think that's done. So, if you want to subscribe, feel free. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and bye.